So we spent the last few days just sifting through this stack of transcripts, and it's a lot. It reads less like serious analysis and more like, I don't know, political gossip mixed with these really intense local power struggles.
It's chaotic. It's really high volume, but buried inside all of that talk show commentary, there are some genuinely concrete facts and some really powerful insights.
Exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive, right? To filter out all of that noise.
We're focusing on 3 key threads that are, I think, fundamentally connected no matter how disjointed they seemed in the source material.
Okay, so what are they?
First, how political tribalism is constantly being used as a distraction. Second, the cold business reality behind these huge local infrastructure battles, specifically what's happening in Kansas City with the sports teams.
Right. And the third?
And third, a really surprising comparison of how modern independent media and, traditional media deliver information to you, the listener. It's a huge contrast.
Okay, let's dive right in with the juiciest stuff. The political details that were sort of buried in all this gossip.
Yeah.
We have these comments from administration insiders, specifically a former Trump chief of staff, Susie Wiles. And she was remarkably candid about the people she worked with.
Incredibly so. I mean, her assessment of Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, for instance, she basically described him as a calculating conspiracy theorist.
Wow.
But the commentary that really jumped out was her personal insight into Donald Trump's character. She reportedly likened it to that of an alcoholic.
That's a jarring analogy, regardless of where you fall politically. But isn't likening a politician's personality to an addiction? No. Isn't that just more political mudslinging, a distraction?
Well, that's the core tension, and it's why we have to just report it impartially. You have an insider offering this really unflattering personal assessment, right, designed to frame his public image. And at the very same time, we have fresh reports detailing the former president's own recent public claims that were just demonstrably untrue. It shows this fundamental accountability gap at the highest levels.
Okay, so give us the scorecard. What specifically did the sources capture him saying recently that we know is false?
There were 3 specific claims in one speech. First, he stated that gas prices were under $2.50 in most of the country.
Which is not true.
Not even close. The data confirmed only 4 states were below that at the time. Second, he claimed there was no tax on Social Security. Again, false for a lot of earners.
And the third?
He claimed inflation had stopped. The sources noted that while it's lower than its peak, it was actually up year over year from about 2.7% to 3.0%.
So when you have multiple claims like that, claims that are so easily verifiable and proven false, the question for you, the listener, has to be, why aren't these things immediately and consistently challenged in the mainstream?
Because they're often overlooked. The whole political ecosystem, the media, it's sort of designed to focus on the outrage, the personality clashes, the feuds, not so much the dry economic details.
In that lack of accountability, it's not just a one-sided issue.
Not at all. The source also captured this incredibly sharp critique from deep within the establishment, from Congressman Chip Roy. And it was a huge reality check on healthcare costs.
He's a staunch conservative, right?
Exactly. And he's the one who stated explicitly that Congress literally cut a deal with insurance companies.
A deal?
His argument was that these backroom deals have led directly to, the numbers are incredible, profit increases of up to 2,000% for insurance corporations. And that's what makes healthcare unaffordable.
His conclusion was pretty blunt.
Very blunt. If Congress keeps enriching insurance companies through these regulatory deals, costs will never, ever come down.
This whole pattern of the elite cutting deals that harm the working class, no matter which party is in charge, it's the perfect setup for what the sources call the purple argument.
Yeah, this came from commentary around the recently released Epstein files.
And it was from independent media, right?
It was, specifically from Lee Calvin of Rough Cut Media Network. And his take was really powerful. The names in the files, they mostly just confirm what we suspected. Powerful politicians, billionaires, foreign heads of state, media celebrities.
But the key takeaway wasn't who was in the files.
No. The most important discovery was who was not in the files.
And who was absent.
Not a single iron worker. Not one inner-city elementary school teacher or Midwest family farmer. The working class, the vulnerable, they were completely absent from that list of participants.
So the implication is clear. The working class is the victim here, not the participant in whatever was going on with the global elite.
Precisely. And that brings us to the core of this purple argument.
So what does purple mean in this context?
Purple is defined as red-blooded and blue-collared. The argument is that both right-leaning and left-leaning media outlets intentionally keep this working class divided, red fighting blue.
By focusing on cultural hot-button issues.
Yes. It creates this powerful distraction while, in their words, untouchable oligarchs abuse the vulnerable and consolidate wealth. The core message is that the working class is actually on the same side and needs to stop fighting each other and instead punch up.
And if we take that idea of untouchable oligarchs and elite financial deals, that pattern isn't just in D.C. It extends right down to these high-stakes local battles.
Like the one brewing in Kansas City over the Chiefs and the Royal stadiums. It's a perfect, real-time example of that punch-up dynamic.
So you have these powerful entities, the Hunt family, the teams.
And they're operating purely as businesses. They're seeking the maximum financial gain, and it doesn't matter what community, loyalty, or local taxpayer sentiment is. It's all business.
The political maneuvering is getting intense. Jackson County, led by Executive Phil Lavoda, they recently launched what they're calling Operation Save Arrowhead.
It's essentially a counterproposal to what the state of Kansas is doing with their aggressive push to lure the teams across the state line.
So what's the specific financial offer from Jackson County?
It's critical. They're proposing a ballot measure that would lower the current 38-cent sales tax down to a 14-cent in 2031, but with one major condition.
Which is?
That the Chiefs remain the sole tenant at the Truman Sports Complex.
So they're trying to lock the Chiefs in and push the Royals out.
Pretty much.
Okay, the financial tools here are getting complex. We hear about star bonds in Kansas, then guaranteed sales tax in Missouri. What does that actually mean for the average taxpayer?
This is where the details really matter. Missouri's plan relies on ongoing, guaranteed sales tax revenue. So if you buy something in that county, a piece of that tax is guaranteed for the stadium. Simple.
And Kansas.
Kansas is leaning on these star bonds, and that essentially means the state creates a special tax district just around the new development. The money for the stadium comes from the sales tax generated only by that new development itself.
So Kansas is basically offering money that the new stadium district has to earn first, which is a lot riskier if the development underperforms.
It's much riskier for the project. Missouri is offering a safer, guaranteed funding stream. So it puts the Chiefs in this position to compare, apples to oranges. Long-term stability versus this big upfront investment leverage.
And the Chiefs are playing hardball.
Oh, absolutely. We know they've committed $400 million to renovate Arrowhead, but the big question is, what kind of renovation?
Cosmetics versus a full rebuild.
Or a dome. They want the possibility of a dome, which is this massive undertaking, but a dome unlocks huge revenue. Super Bowls, Final Fours, major concerts all year round. They're just maximizing their leverage.
And a key detail from the sources confirmed that the Chiefs and the Royals are, in fact, two separate entities.
Which just makes the negotiations and the politics even more of a headache. That separation has ripple effects.
Like what?
Well, the sources noted that if the Royals do move to the Kansas suburbs, say near 119th Street, T-Mobile has allegedly threatened to leave the area entirely.
Wait, why would a corporate headquarters threaten to leave over a stadium moving?
Because a stadium isn't just a stadium. It's a huge regional infrastructure project. It impacts traffic, local business, property values, the tax base all around their headquarters.
So T-Mobile is using its own weight as a major economic anchor.
Exactly. To pressure the county executives to keep major projects aligned with their corporate interests, it's just one more powerful entity throwing its weight around in a local political fight.
And that it's just business mindset. We see it in college sports, too.
Yeah.
The sources mentioned that whole drama with Missouri State football.
Yeah, the head coach just unexpectedly left for Coastal Carolina, and the reporting says it was because he was severely underpaid.
So coaches, just like players in the transfer portal, they're following the money.
It's all business. And the sources couldn't resist adding this quirky detail about the staff he left behind. The offensive coordinator is Bobby Petrino's son, and the defensive coordinator and the former head coach, Ryan Beard, are married to sisters.
So it's a very tightly knit family affair.
It just shows that even in these high-stakes professional environments, personal relationships often drive and complicate the business decisions.
That sets up our final thread perfectly. The state of media and how we all get our information every day. The talk show transcript was actually full of the hosts themselves complaining about traditional media.
And it really helps you understand why so many of us prefer independent, long-form content now. What's most revealing is the pacing.
Hard breaks, right?
Exactly. Traditional radio, according to the sources, still has these restrictive hard breaks for national news, like ABC News, and it often interrupts an important conversation right when it's getting good. It's just the opposite of what a modern listener expects.
It also highlights this huge disconnect in cultural tolerance. I mean, the hosts detailed this case of, well, clutching of the pearls is the only way to describe it.
The hot mic incident.
Yeah, during a Philadelphia Flyers broadcast, a commentator said, "Blow me." The traditional radio host censored the word so heavily and acted just mortified.
It just shows how out of touch that world can be with the unfiltered nature of independent media. I mean, think about a Joe Rogan broadcast. That wouldn't even be a blip on the radar.
And traditional media, because it's so constrained by advertisers, it falls into these traps. The sources mentioned the constant betting commercials
Tony Gonzalez everywhere.
and the disproportionate focus on rage-baiting Trump news, which just overshadows everything else. They mentioned the Seattle flood wasn't getting enough coverage because all the airtime was consumed by political spectacle.
And that brings us to the filler content. You know, when you have these mandated commercial breaks, you have to fill the gaps, and sometimes that filler is just unexpected trivia.
So let's end this dive with some of that, some fun, memorable details that were captured in the source's own pop culture segment. I think we can finally settle the die-hard debate.
The sources claim they have definitive proof. So Macaulay Culkin and Bruce Willis, the star of the movie himself, they recorded a song together called Merry Christmas.
Okay, so the star of Home Alone and the star of Die Hard making a Christmas song.
The sources take that as indisputable evidence that Die Hard is, in fact, a Christmas movie.
I love that. Using tangential celebrity facts to settle major cinematic arguments. Speaking of which, the sources also highlighted some other unique holiday voices.
They did. We all know William Shatner does that spoken word Jingle Bells. But here's a great piece of trivia. The voice of Tony the Tiger.
The cereal mascot.
That's the same person who sings "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch."
No way! That's fantastic. And there was one more really unexpected voice.
Marilyn Monroe sang Santa Baby. It's one of those amazing details you just stumble on when you're digging through media archives.
And finally, the music preferences the host talked about, it perfectly illustrates that cultural divide. They noted the love for Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You and Paul McCartney's Wonderful Christmas Time.
And they specifically pointed out that Band-Aid's Do They Know It's Christmas, the British effort, actually came before the American version, We Are the World.
And on the other side, the songs they love to hate. I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
And the generally downbeat Charlie Brown Christmas music, it's a great reminder that culture, just like politics, is defined as much by what we love as what we love to argue about.
So after all that, what does this mean for you? We filtered through this chaotic transcript and found a repeating, interconnected structure.
The political establishment relies on keeping the purple working class divided with tribalism. At the same time, these high-stakes local negotiations prove that pro sports is purely a business, often at the community's expense.
And finally, modern media consumption. It really requires you, the learner, to actively filter the constraints and the rage bait of traditional outlets against the unfiltered fire hose of independent voices.
The sources, especially in that discussion about the Epstein files, they showed this strong desire among independent voices to unite that red-blooded and blue-collared populace against what they called the untouchable oligarchs.
So given all the examples we talked about today, the Hunt family seeking dome funding, major political figures making provably false claims, mainstream media enforcing these strict cultural rules, which specific institution, politics, sports, or media do you think the purple working class will find it most difficult to truly punch up against? That's the question this deep dive leaves for you to consider.